Благодаря на всички, които се...
Thank you for coming back to the second part of our discussion today. I will be the moderator for the second panel. As you can see in the agenda, in the second discussion round, we included topical issues. Some of them were mentioned by Commissioner Gabriel and by the other panelists. It is indeed very important for me to have such a political panel discussion, because without any political support for digitalization of agriculture, it would be much more difficult to implement new technologies for the farmers. And without any further ado, I would like to try and shorten our discussion. So, I will first introduce each of the panelists and will give them the floor for their presentation. First, I would like to give the floor to Ana Guadrado Galvan. You heard her presentation during the first panel. She is a planning and programming officer, research program officer at the European Commission, DG Agri, Research and Innovation Unit. She will present the work of the European Commission on digitalization. Anna, you have the floor.
The floor is yours. Thank you, Svetlana, and hello again. I'm the lucky one that can speak twice today, so, but I promise you that now my presentation will be shorter. In fact, I only have 3 slides. The first one, I will not give many details because you already heard about that this morning. This is our strategy, the 3 pillars, and what are the different activities that we are doing to implement that. As I mentioned this morning, we are using different European funds to support the implementation of this strategy, like Horizon 2020, rural development programs together with member states, and European regional funds. So I go directly to the presentation of one specific let's say, activity that we are doing that is supporting the building of digital innovation hubs for agriculture. Digital innovation hubs is a concept that appears in the Digitizing European Industry strategy that was published by the Commission 2 years ago. It's one of the pillars to support digital transformation and to create this innovation ecosystem that we were speaking this morning and yesterday about. So what is a digital innovation hub for agriculture? Is, as I said, the innovation ecosystem that is needed to support the digital transformation in agriculture. Here, what we try to support is that people work together. You heard about that also this morning, the importance of people working together, public, private sector, universities, research organizations, advisor services, the farming community, farmers, etc. The core element of the digital innovation hubs are what we call the competence centers, so universities, research organizations, the ones that they can support with infrastructure, with labs, those SMEs, those companies, those farmers that they want to develop solutions based on digital. And then there are many other actors that they give also other kind of services out of the technology services to these SMEs or entrepreneurs, like could be investors or specialists on business development, training and education. So universities, high schools, they are also very important here. At the end, the digital innovation hub should provide the set of services that they are needed to support this digital transformation and to allow that technology will be used by the farmer. In the link here you have information on the event that we organized last year in Kilkenny about digital innovation hubs for agriculture and the specificities of the hubs in agriculture, where, for example, the role of the advisor services and the farming community is extremely important. So it's very important that someone in the hub liaise between the ICT sector and the farming community. My next slide is referring to a special training program for Digital Innovation Hub that was published last year. Is currently running, so unfortunately there is no possibility to join at the moment. We realized that there are different speeds in Europe on this digital transformation, and we wanted to focus on those countries that need more and special support for accelerate this digital transformation. So we opened this call for training on digital innovation hubs in EU 13 member states. So in the slide, it could be probably difficult to see now because we are a little bit far away, but you can see the countries that can or that they participate. And the objective of this program was to train these digital innovation hubs on the different services that they should provide. So the training program gives them the possibility to identify the regional needs, to find finance sources for building the hub, also support them in project development, and something important is a mentoring program with existing digital innovation hubs, so they can exist that already exist, so they can learn from them. The total budget of this training program is 1.8 million euros, and it's running till November this year. They are 34 digital innovation hubs selected from these 13 countries. And in fact, in the link you have the whole list and also the services and the different activities that they are provide to these digital innovation hubs in the frame of this program. I put in the slide just the example of the 3 digital innovation hubs selected in Bulgaria, because we are here. So here you have the information. I have to say that not all the 34 digital innovation hubs selected, they are dealing with agriculture, because it was asked the proposers to identify the main sector in their country or in their region. So at the moment, from the 34, there are only 3, 2 in Poland and 1 in Croatia, that they are dealing with agriculture. But this doesn't mean that in the future will not deal with agriculture, because now at the moment what they are learning is how to act and how they will provide services as digital innovation hub. So in the next step, we expect that they will deal with different sectors. Here you have just a brochure that we produce, where you can have not only detailed information about digital innovation hubs, this call, and what is happening now in Europe in that sense. You also can have information on the strategy that we are implementing, with also a specific information on projects that they are running at the moment, and what are the current calls open under the Horizon 2020 program. So in this brochure, you have complete information of all the activities at European level for digital transformation in agriculture and rural areas. Thank you very much for your attention.
Благодаря на Анна.
Thank you, Anna. Now it is my pleasure. First of all, let me tell you that you see the name Hervé Dupuy in our agenda. Mr. Hervé Dupuy was supposed to present to you the Wi-Fi for EU initiative. Unfortunately, due to some health reasons, Mr. Dupuy could not come to our forum today. But our next speaker is Mr. Jan Drog, who is director of the so-called Broadband Competence Officer Support Facility. And I'm sure that he will be able to present the information which was supposed to be provided by Mr. Hervé Dupuy on the Wi-Fi for EU initiative. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And I'm sorry that I have to represent Monsieur Dupuis here today because he is an amazing speaker and I will try to be up to his level. And thank you very much for the organizers for inviting us here today, Svetlana specifically, and the presidency and everybody, and to the interpreters that are doing a great job and keeping us all working together. So Hervé actually gave me only one slide for you. So I will try and run you through the Wi-Fi for EU program. It is probably one of the best examples of how the European Commission can be innovative. They have created an aid scheme in a way that they have never done before. They wanted to keep it simple, streamlined, and first come, first served, little administration. It was launched on the 20th of March this year for registration. And I'm honored to speak here in Bulgaria, of course, but it turns out that Bulgaria is in fact one of the most active countries already on the program. So well done, and great to see that level of participation. We have about 2/3 of Bulgarian municipalities already active and preparing for participation on the Wi-Fi for EU. The call will open on the 15th of May and run for about a month. What is it about? It's about bringing Wi-Fi connectivity to municipalities where such connectivity does not currently exist. So therefore, it's mainly, not necessarily, but mainly in smaller and maybe more remote municipalities where such a service is not currently provided. Why is it innovative? Because it'll be a simple application form on a portal. The municipality registers with their credentials, location, etc. And then when the call opens on 15th of May, all they need to do is to click one button, submit, and that is the application. There is no competition in terms of who has the best project or the biggest project or the highest co-funding or whatever. The funding will be the same for everybody, 15,000 euro vouchers, and it's on a first come, first serve basis. I don't think we've ever seen anything so streamlined, managed by the Commission. We'll talk again in June how this first experiment is going, but I think it's already fantastic that the experience is being launched, and I think it's going to work out great. We can only encourage municipalities from all member states, of course, to register, because that is an essential prerequisite, so that when the call opens on the 15th of May, municipalities are ready to apply. And even in Bulgaria, there's still a third of municipalities that can and maybe should register. Once the voucher is allocated to a municipality, it'll be to basically provide access in public spaces to free Wi-Fi. The public space could be anything from a library to a market square to whatever the municipality decides it to be. And I think that summarizes in a short what the Wi-Fi for EU program is about and why it's something quite new. Svetlana? Yes. Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Sure. I'm competing with Anna for speaking time, so I will also have a second slot. I will now wear my own hat and speak as Jan. May I ask for the slides on the Broadband Competence Office, please?
Моля за презентацията, която е за Broadband, да бъде заредена. Благодаря.
We expect to see the presentation on the screen in a moment.
My name is Jan Dröge, and I am the head of the Broadband Competence Office, and I'm very glad to be here today to present that to you. The reason why we need a Broadband Competence Office network, I think, became quite clear this morning, and if I may just paraphrase what Minister Donchev said this morning, the future of farming 5.0, I think he called it, will be robotics and big data. And this can only happen if rural areas are connected. I cannot agree more. However, and I think Commissioner Gabriel also mentioned this fact, and I think it's quite a sad fact, we have 76% of European citizens, so nearly 80% of European citizens connected to fast internet. But in rural areas, that number is only 40%. So that is a very significant difference, a big digital gap that is not really acceptable. It's not acceptable because European citizens, wherever they live, should have access to good internet, because it's the only way to be a full participant in the economy of the future. And it's not acceptable for our rural areas, because if we want them to thrive and remain competitive, they will need connectivity. And of course, we're here today on an agriculture innovation summit, and of course we need connectivity for this, but I think rural areas are not only about agriculture. All the services that keep rural areas dynamic, diverse, and active depend on connectivity. Social services, health services, all of these elements. And I think agriculture will depend on rural areas being active and retaining a workforce and active villages, dynamic towns. So agriculture is interdependent, I might say, with the ecosystem of the rural areas in general. So the connectivity, yes, it's important for agriculture, but I think it's important on a wider scale for rural areas. The European Commission has set a target that all citizens should have access to speeds of 30 megabit by 2020. As I said, we're not yet there in terms of rural areas. For 2025, the targets are even more ambitious, with a target of 100 megabit for Europeans and 1 giga for key economic drivers. Why don't we have this happening right now? Why is the investment not happening in rural areas? The telecoms market in Europe is a private market. It's deregulated, and most of the investment is happening from private operators, from telco companies. But of course, they invest where there is a business case. And in some rural areas, because of population density, because of remoteness, because of maybe the geographic specificities, maybe mountainous, maybe islands, the investment is not happening. And all our member states, Bulgaria as well, but nearly all the member states in the EU have developed plans to promote investment in these areas. However, we have seen that even when governments are allocating funds to invest in rural broadband, these funds are not always taken up. I think many of you work with the structural investment funds. In the previous programming period, there were about €2.5 billion programmed from the EU for broadband, and a lot of this money was unused, despite the fact that the targets were not met. In this period, there's about €6 billion from the EU. So how can we make sure that this funding reaches the people that need it? So the Commission made an assessment of why some of the investments might not have taken place. And the three main hurdles that were identified are regulatory, technical, and access to finance. These hurdles have all been addressed in different countries in different ways. This is not a new problem. This problem has been around for years. And as I said, many countries have already tried to address this. And still, some of the hurdles remain. So the Commission decided, and I think Commissioner Gabriel addressed it this morning, in order to learn from each other and exchange on how to overcome these investment hurdles in rural areas, a network was set up, the Broadband Competence Offices Network, the BCO network, in order to learn from each other and help member states drive the investment in these rural areas. So now we have a network in all the member states of the EU, sharing good practices, learning from each other, with a view to accelerate the uptake of public investment. The core network is at member state level, and we have it in Bulgaria and in all other member states of the EU. However, as you know, the investment need is mainly in the rural areas, And therefore, it is also important that this network gets more capillarity, if I may steal an expression from the agricultural sector, and that we get broadband competence offices also more at the regional level. It is essential, of course, that we have the backbone of BCOs in the capitals, but we probably need competence centers closer to the end users where the needs are. There's a 6-point action plan that the Commission has announced at the end of last year. Commissioner Hogan announced it at the Broadband Competence Conference in November last year. And I just want to summarize it very briefly for you, because I think if you are looking towards smart agriculture, these points will concern you all. The first point, of course, is to grow and strengthen the network of BCOs. As I just said, we need more capillarity. We need BCOs that are closer to the people that need investment. But we also need improved mapping. We know that certain citizens or certain farms remain unconnected, but we don't always have a clear map of where the investment needs are. So it's to, so to say, connect the reality, to connect the dots and really know where the investment needs are. There will be an acceleration of the mapping of the investment needs. The Commission is also working on a common methodology on planning and reporting on the investment needs for broadband. And now I come probably to the 3 main points that will concern you in the agricultural and rural sector. One aspect that the Commission has developed is the concept of rural proof test. This means that all of those countries that have allocated investment funding for broadband through the structural investment funds, if any of those funds should be allocated to other investment needs, which for sure there's many, but need to prove that the connectivity needs are being covered. So the corollaire to this means that broadband is a priority and will remain a priority until the countries can prove that the investment need is already covered. And I think Madame Gabriel announced it this morning as well. This is probably going to remain the same in the future programming post-2020. The Commission is also working on a guide on how to drive investments in high-speed broadband networks. This guide already exists, but it's being updated as we speak by the Commission services. And then I want to mention specifically an activity that the European Commission is driving together with the OECD. A project framework, a guidebook on investment for rural networks specifically. Because, as I mentioned, the business case for rural networks is sometimes the most difficult to build, and the objective is to develop guidelines on how such investments can be driven. Thank you very much.
Аз също много благодаря.
Thank you for your contribution on these 2 topics, Jan. Indeed, it was very informative. And that's one more reason why these fora are very important, because perhaps it's the first time some of you have heard that there are such opportunities, and member states need to take best advantage of those opportunities. And as Commissioner Gabriel said, the purpose, overarching goal, is for people to live better. You are the people who live in the rural areas, so it must be convenient for you to do business. So it's all about business. And now I have the honor to give the floor to Grigoris Hadjikostis, who will talk about yet another opportunity, which Commissioner Gabriel also mentioned, the Internet of Food and Farm 2020. So let's give you some more information, as much information as possible. Grigoris, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for organizing this event and for giving us the opportunity to really talk to the people who are in the field. And I will try to unfold my presentation into the 3 key messages, as we agreed. So, we are Biosense. We are, I would say, geeks working for farmers. We envision a future of agriculture that looks a lot like this. Robots, big data analytics, remote sensing, microelectronics, all these elements that create what we call the digital transformation of agriculture. But the problem is that we have this vision, but how can you convince farmers to move towards this vision? So my first message would be this: farmers need to see to believe. The main problem that we face when we're trying to approach farmers is that they believe that what we're building is a Disneyland, is a Potemkin village. It's not something real for them to take advantage of. Therefore, our first thing to do was to build a digital farm, not in an experimental basis, but on a real farm, on a real commercial farm, of a farmer that is already successful, Mr. Harmati from Krivaya, already successful, already accepted in his community as a front runner. And therefore, what we did here is that we tried to establish the technologies inside his own farm. And we are running training courses, and we are running open days where people can come to see and believe. Hence, next week we have a very interesting thing. We are presenting how LoRa networks can be applied in agricultural setting. So we're showing to the farmers real technologies and how they can benefit, how they can overcome I would say, the obstacles they see in connectivity. And also we back this up with a digital platform, AgroSense platform. I kind of tried to demonstrate it yesterday in the event to the people, which is a platform that allows farmers to use it free of charge for everyone, allow them to use the basic functionalities, and then have a place where they can put their equipment and their sensors and all the technology they invest on so that they can gather the data. And this thing of seeing to believing, we also apply in the Internet of Food and Farming, in the IOF 2020, the flagship project that I have the honor to represent today. Because we invested in the first year in order to convince, to set up the infrastructure, to set up the sensors, to set up the things in the farm. And now we open the farm so that other farmers can come and see how the technologies are applied, get inspired, see the problems, see what the real costs are, and make informed investment decisions on how they can apply the technologies to their farm. My second message is, we can do a lot, but we cannot do it alone. And in this picture here, I want to show you, you see the Prime Minister of Serbia, you see people from the research, you see the farmers, you see people from the European Commission, you see people from Wageningen University, an international organization that is supporting us on that. Every player in the chessboard has its role. We cannot afford to do things without having everybody on board. And what you see here is the high level, but at the field level, we look at ourselves as a digital innovation hub. I hope the strategy is aligned with what Anna presented earlier, because we see Biosense in the center as a competence center, but also building all the infrastructure with respect to acceleration and business support services, with respect to end users that can come, and we can also use them as, I would say, trials for the technology providers. So we see ourselves as the pole that farmers, technology providers, and business people, investors can gather around and build things all together. And similarly, we have come up in IOF 2020 with what we call the lean multi-actor approach. And this is blending the ideas of Silicon Valley about the lean startup methodology, fail fast and learn the most out of it, with the way we have in Europe to do things, which is the multi-actor approach, which is building consensus, having the farmers, the technology providers, the extension services working all together in various iterations and improving and learning from the previous steps. And my third key message, and I will try to be concise on that, is yes, there is money on the table for good ideas. And of course, the European Commission is supporting innovators with various ways. What I would like to propose in Biosense, we have a long history of supporting innovation, and we have supported some very good companies here in Bulgaria as well. So we started with Fractals in 2014, and we had Bulgarian partners. The Bulgarian Association of Software Companies, BASCOM, was among our partners. Now in Katana, we also have, among the front runners, we have an amazing company. And actually, I was very happy yesterday to see that the presents we get from Bulgaria are from Rose's Mark, because the ladies from this company are one among the winners in Katana competition, that they have been topped up with 100K euros. And now we have new open calls. We have Diatomic, which is for microelectronics. And I know that Bulgaria has a very strong tradition in microelectronics for agriculture. And then we have IOF 2020 that also has an open call. I'm not ready to announce more details yet. It will be announced in Malaga or in Bilbao in the beginning of July. But there will be money on the table for innovators there as well. So Diatomic, the call is already open. The deadline is 15th of June. Microelectronics innovators that want to create solutions for the agri-food, but also for health and manufacturing, are welcome to apply. The website is diatomic.eu, and through the F-Success platform they can see it's a very easy process. It's a few pages application. And then IOF 2020, the call will be launched we expect it to be on the beginning of July. There is also money on the table there, use cases, pilot for IoT application of agriculture. Eastern Europe has particular focus, so we invite all the people here to look at the call, stay tuned and apply and benefit from the funds that the European Commission gives, not only for high-level, I would say, government initiatives, but really from grassroots initiatives, really people that want to put the technologies together. And I think that this way we can bring the two worlds together easier. Thank you very much.
Вау! Наистина може да говорим много.
Indeed, he can speak at an amazingly high rate when he has a lot to share, but I'm very grateful because we feel much richer in information now. So thank you once again, Grigoris. And now it is with great pleasure and honor to give the floor to the Secretary General of Copa Cogeca, Pekka Pesonen. We have communicated not only on digital matters with them. Copa Cogeca is a very important organization for you, farmers, because at the European Union level, it brings together farmers and cooperatives. Pekka will tell us more about this. Copa Cogeca is very active in data sharing. I give the floor to Pekka Pesonen to tell us more about Copa Cogeca's activities in support of farmers.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boyanova. It's a pleasure to be here, and we go back for a long time, so it's once again, let's say, indeed a pleasure to see you in this context, because this is hugely important for us all here, not only here in this building, but out there for millions of farmers and their agri-cooperatives. As you know, agriculture, despite its sometimes old-fashioned image, this digital agenda, how we could enhance European agriculture, its performance, actually has created a situation where agriculture is becoming more and more fashionable. It's very much about consumer interest to our sector. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here in taking part in this event. I wonder how that works now. Why should I? Now. So, very shortly, I represent, in fact, two organizations that are slightly older than I am, and we are present in almost all member states, and I'm completely convinced that Ms. Boyanova would help me in the last remaining only member state of Bulgaria to get a full member organization to our ranks. Nevertheless, we are very active in dozens of working sectors. We have, in fact, 45 working parties in the House, meaning that all agricultural sectors are covered, and also horizontal policies. What we see in technology is simply to point out that it provides concrete solutions, and all farmers need to access latest technology in order to respond to dynamic markets and maintain high quality of agricultural produce. This has been touched upon several times already today. I don't want to dwell on that, but then it's certainly very much linked with the current sustainability discussion. Better use of our existing resources. Big data, information provided, and farmers use it is nothing new. We have had that for generations. But what is new now? That we have a tool that would make a difference, huge difference, and the application of that data and the learning from the data could be returned back to the sector. Personally, I have a lot of experience from space management in the 1990s, and that was exactly the same copy-paste experience. In the retail sector, we didn't know space performance and the product performance in supermarkets, but when we had the software for the first time in the early 1990s, it revolutionized the whole calculation and performance in the retail sector, and I'm absolutely convinced that this would happen also in agriculture. But it has to be made available to all sectors in agriculture, all actions, and even in sectors like organic. And that's where the challenge lies, because a lot of people have a bit of a religious approach to, for instance, organic sector, where things should be go back to the basics and be a bit old-fashioned in a sense in terms of application of the technologies. This needs to be broken. We need to employ these modern technologies, especially when it comes to data and information to consumers, better to sector like organic. This is just to demonstrate few steps in the work of a farmer, where data and application of it and digital data can be used. And that means that farmers have huge potential in their activities when it comes to digital agenda. Then, when we take a look into the strategic approach, I think it's more to do with that coherence and the strategy rather than the technology. We are not here to serve the multinationals that provide smartphones and technology. We are here to provide assistance to people that make a living and make a living in a sustainable manner in the service of the whole society. And therefore, this is not only about the common agricultural policy, it's also about other EU common policies and national policies, and also voluntary initiatives that take place amongst stakeholders. Farmers are very much in the heart of it. I just wanted to show you this to demonstrate the main approach, but actually we are missing here also to the left, the scientific community development in terms of science, and the other end, we don't have the consumers. So this is hugely complicated. It looks like very simple, but then the reality is that especially the consumer link is hugely important for us. That's why, for instance, during the last few days, I have been very much in contact with both scientific community and the consumer end of the chain for the same topic of today. These are some of the interfaces that we have identified between different operators. The main element of the farmer is the green part in the middle, but that points out the opportunities and situations where we need to have sometimes even contractual arrangement, how the data information is shared. And this is what we have been working on. And I'm very pleased to be here today to inform you that together with 8 other organizations at European level, next Monday we will come out with the publication of a voluntary code of good practice, code of conduct, how the data should be shared. Commissioner Hogan will take part in this event in our premises, and we came together with other stakeholders to come up with a set of principles and how elements should be incorporated into the contractual arrangement between the stakeholders. The only organization that is not involved with the list to the left is European Crop Protection Association. So we have 9 organizations at European level, machinery manufacturers, Fertilizers Europe, young farmers, contractors, seed association, feed manufacturers, and animal breeding organization. So this is very much linked with agriculture directly, and we are very proud of this work. The Commission gave us initiative to do this, and we are very happy that we could respond, and this could give us some guidance for the future work in this area. Ladies and gentlemen, I would only conclude my part of the presentation by pointing out the importance of the common policies. This is not about the common agricultural policy, and especially its second pillar. It's also about cohesion. It's about other common policy areas. It's about national governments, which we've heard several examples this morning. And it has to have a strong link with the research and innovation in all parts of it to make sure that we will have the latest information available. And ladies and gentlemen, all of this from farmers' perspective, it is a better use of existing resources to better serve the society with better food and indeed higher and better quality food. Thank you very much.
Благодаря, както винаги много вдъхновява.
Thank you. As usual, a very inspiring speech on the part of Mr. Pessonen. It gives me special pleasure to listen to you, and we're very happy to hear that on Monday you may be getting more information on these matters. And the main message was that we must work together with researchers and scientists, because this product, the codes of conduct on data sharing, is not going to be just another book on the shelf. It will be a handbook indeed, helping farmers. And now, on the other side of the table to my left, I was very pleased yesterday to meet for the first time the next speakers on the list, Professor Dimitar Trayanov. He's the head of the Department of Information Systems and Network Technologies at the Faculty of Computer Science and Engineering at the Skopje Universities of St. Cyril and St. Methodius. Professor Trianov, the concept of innovation hubs, particularly in the context of digitizing our world, which is a hot topic itself. How would you present your experience, the experience of your country in that field?
Thank you. First of all, I wish to thank you for inviting me here and to have this opportunity to share some of our experiences. Can I get my presentation? Okay, now everything is in place. Okay, my presentation, I will share our experiences of running innovation hubs at the university, collaborating with administration, with industry, and how what we learn in this process. We created, the name is Social Innovation Hub. We created that, I think, 2013. That's almost 5 years ago. We started one collaboration with United Nations Development Program and tried to, in our vision, to try to solve some of social related problems in Macedonia. One of them is for sure agriculture and things that are happening there. So we come together and try to create a platform, an organization which will manage innovation and how that innovation can come to more larger group of people, especially starting from administration, government, and the end users. That means the users who are producers, owners, farmers, etc. The main point here is that I will quote something that Albert Einstein had said, is that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created. So the point is that if we want to solve something, we need, let's say, at least 3 things. That is, first, to be prepared to continually learn, to be prepared to take risk, because making innovation is a risky process. That means that it's possible that sometimes you will fail, sometimes you will win. And the last thing is that you need to be persistent. That means to continually be in course of action in spite of any difficulties and opposition that you get in this way. So this image now is something that we are working currently. It's our project of creating a virtual innovation platform, which means that we are now trying to connect different stakeholders and to enable them to collaborate. And we will look at our regions here. We will find a lot of small businesses that have some ideas of innovating. From other side, we can find a lot of university professors, researchers who are doing some research for research. And the point of the platform is to try to connect them and to try to researchers to get challenges from real problems and real problems to get to someone who has some knowledge, some current and new knowledge to be applied. And in that direction, the platform is based, there is one core team that is coordinating everything, and something which is it's interesting in the platform that we are creating something which we called sustainability verification team. That is the point is that because we are running this with United Nations and programs like there, the point is that in every project that is innovative one and is supported by the hub, we want to be sustainable. That means to be aware of climate change, to be aware of social issues and everything around that. So in every innovation, there are experts that are checking on this point and trying to, at the end, to get with something which is new, but also is let's say earth friendly. That means that new ideas will leave project in a way that we will get only the useful thing from the innovation. So this is how our teams are composed. Here we share some projects that we have done. The point is that in most of them we collaborate with UNDP, United Nations Development Program. The first two of them are in agriculture. In the Prespa region, our minister from Macedonia said that this is one of the most developed region when the e-agriculture come in place. We have this, let's say, opportunity to be part of some of these projects there. I will share something that we have done there. Then I will share some other project, and at the end I will share some information. Now we are working on establishing innovation lab in city of Skopje, so we can share some experiences how we have done that and what is the challenges and opportunities there. The first thing is that this is the application that we have made 4 years ago. It's SMS-based application which help farmers to improve their apple production and reduce pollution in Prespa region. The point is that was really cheap project. The platform, the software was really cheap, and the impact was amazing. So because the farmers, they use the mobile phones, it's really easy to contact them with short text messages and to bring them some new information. And based on that, it's interesting that National Geographic come there and write article about our project, why I'm really proud of this. So it was for a really small amount of money, we make a big impact. Another project is AppleLand. How this project started, we have made some analysis, and we find out that the farmers, they're not computer literal, but all of them use Facebook and other social networks. So we decided, okay, it's really hard to teach them to use computers and platforms and etc. Let's try to, because they are already on Facebook, try to make a game, Facebook game, in which we will try to teach them how to more efficiently grow apples, and then how to let's say, be more environment friendly, how to protect the Prespa Lake and the whole region. So at the end, we come with this game, with Facebook game, which is similar to this. There are similar games in the market, which most of the users, most of the farmers have already played, but this is more gamification. This is simulation-based game with real actions, which means that you can do everything around that which is connected with apple production. And the model there behind that is model that we have built together with the Faculty of Agriculture, and at the end gives some really useful information how they can grow apples in new way. We have this discussion before come here that they're saying, okay, my father grows the apple in that way, I don't want to change that. So the game was intended to try to pursue them. Okay, there is another way, let's change it in the game, then you can see what will happen at the end. This is picture of the tasting of the game, launching on the game. That is 3 years ago that we have done. This is one project of using drones to monitor environment, and we enter on in that area. Also, we have some collaboration with City of Skopje and monitoring different areas and making some mappings about that. Another important thing is that hackathons are really useful tool in that direction. You have opportunity to get a large amount of people and tell them something. They will not end with some useful to most of them, but there will be some ideas that are worth of supporting them. Another important thing is that we made a couple of courses in design thinking. The point is that there are a lot of simple innovation tools. Design thinking is one of that, is developed by MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Is really simple way to teach ordinary people how to change their way of thinking and always think of innovation that is useful to the end user. So we made a couple of courses. This is picture from one of them. Our last project that we'll present here is creating innovation lab in City of Skopje, coping with administration and government. But at the end, this was really helpful. The point is that this was also supported by UNDP, and we bring there 4 experts which are really good, which are not part of public administration, and they're doing the real change and they have the everyday problems trying to get some information and to do something, but they're young people with enthusiasm who are trying to do something. Some of them returned in Macedonia from business schools in England and trying to do innovation in Macedonia. There's something that I wanted to share, some ideas that we are working on. Everyone here was talking about machine learning and things like that. One opportunity is something which is called conversational interfaces. Now it's not really hard to create interfaces which use human speech to talk with the computer. So when we have farmers from the other end which are not so computer literal, putting this kind of interface is probably will make them more willing to use this system, ask a question like how I can improve growth of my apples or something like that, and get some answers from that system. At the end, there is conclusion. So we are building, the hubs are really useful platform for supporting innovation. Still, you need to have tools and to training the end users. There are some tools and methodologies that are really simple and can be applied can be taught to everyone. Technology is growing all the time and new opportunities are coming. I'm really excited about this data sharing initiative. I hope that this will give us opportunity as researchers to have access to that and apply some machine learning and try to predict something. It's really huge opportunity if this come in place. So I'm really interested I'm waiting to see the results from that project. And the point is, at the end, you need this transdisciplinary approach. You need to bring different stakeholders with different background in order to innovation to happen. That means you don't need only agriculture engineers and farmers, but if you bring more people, then innovation is more let's say, probable to happen. That was my last slide. Thank you.
Много впечатляваща презентация.
A very impressive presentation. Thank you for it. No microphone. I heard many key messages. For example, that you have a lot of young people involved in the implementation of these projects. It is indeed important to attract young people into agriculture by using digital technologies. I'm also pleased to hear that you have been working on a hackathon. I would like to add something to your experience. With our colleagues from the Dutch embassy, we tried to organize a preliminary meeting in order to clarify the idea of hackathon. I believe it is indeed a very good approach. So you've done very well, and I wish you success in all these initiatives. And now I would like to give the floor to Professor Petrit Dobi. He is an executive director of the Rural Association Support Program in Tirana, Albania. Professor Dobi, you have been involved in a FAO project in Albania in order to introduce the concept of a single window, or as we call it, one-stop shop services for farmers. Could you please tell us more about that initiative, and what else would you like to share from your experience in Albania? You have the floor.
Thank you, Svetlana.
Презентацията да подготвим, да?
First, we're waiting for the presentations to be on the screen.
So I'm really honored to be here and to present our project to politicians, but also to farmers. So two groups sometimes looks they are too far from, and I think this initiative is one that can bring closer the two groups I mentioned. So single window, what's single window? We have different, let's say, concepts on single window or terminology to use in single window. Normally, single window is one of the terms used, but also we may find it as a one-stop shop, or we may find also as agropika used recently in Albania nowadays. So what's the background to single window? Of course, I should mention that normally the governments have the obligation to facilitate as much as possible the process of farmers' application for support, shortening the time required for application, facilitating collection of documents, and optimizing opportunities offered to farmers. So shortly, I'm going to the history of this service in Albania. The government subsidies have been applied during last years, and initially it was a system testing and learning process, but later on government has given more and more funding, and recently we have the highest amount of funding offered to the farmers for applications. So at the end of 2014, we had some local and regional priorities defined based on some research on local climate, tradition, and other specifics. And on this base, there were built some subsidy schemes at the time. And of course, other projects are supporting agricultural. So other donors are giving also some support to agricultural, not only Lipard-like, but also Sared, etc. So what's the background to single window? If we see the history of single window in Albania, or the service to farmers in Albania, we see that at the beginning it was directories of agricultural doing everything, going to the farms, convincing them to apply, and then start the work of farmers. So it's a long way for a farmer, it was at least, a long way for a farmer to achieve such support. He has to go to Directory of Agriculture to collect some papers and documents, and then to go to tax office to collect some documents that he paid the taxes, and then to go back to directory, then to municipality, and then to another office, and so on. So at the end, of course, it's time consuming. I am just clicking now, but this for farmer it's hours and days. And of course, we may say that when it is approved, it's everything okay, but no, we have another tour, so he has to go again to the bank. then to mortgage office, then again to tax office, and so on. So it's a really time-consuming process, and the solution foreseen is single window. So single window, it's a known concept, but in our case, the tasks of single window have been designed according to, let's say, some research made during the project, or better say, according to some need assessment. So this need assessment helped to define the most frequent function of the single window, and we may mention some, let's say, farm registration, extended with additional data about the farm structure and other details, but also assistance in preparing applications, including national schemes or e-part ones, formulation of business plans, and help with other annexes necessary for application, general information about funding opportunities, combining support with state guarantee fund for bank credits, helping co-funding, co-financing through the banks, and so on. So the single window, I am passing this. Single window, it's a set of modules. It's a set of modules that offering different services to the farmers or to the people who are using the system. The main modules in our cases foreseen to be included are, let's say, issue tracking system is client database, farmers register, farmers profile, decision support, farmers folder. So I'm shortly taking one by one. Okay, what's the issue tracking system? It tracks all the whole process of farmers' request, including the application. So this module is a core to record and follow up any communication with farmers' clients. It supports the whole process lifestyle from the first moment the farmers contacts the front desk and until the end when he gets the positive or negative answer, let's say. So the workflow should continue with opening the issue, tracking the process, solution, reporting, and so on. So it helps even sometimes resolve the problems of misunderstanding or the wrong answer from the desk officers. So it's make a more honest, let's say, communication between desk officer and the farmer. So another, let's say, module, it's a client database. We are using here farmers register because we see this as a part of the process. So this module represents an imaginary subset of a national farmer register. But of course, national farmer register is something, it's another, let's say, service, but that can be accessed via an interface, interoperability interface. And the farmer pre-register in this system is a preliminary form that quickly records the contacts that can be used later on during the process and can be used also to build the national registry. So another module is farmer's profile, or let's say farm typology. So quick farm profile is the farm classification tool, which can also provide some advisory feedback based on a generated farmer's fingerprint. So currently it's not yet based on the farm data module, parcels or livestock, but it's recommended to create and use a national typology because EU FNDN system is not so good enough in case of small farms we have in Albania. So another module is decision support. This module, has to do with all support that farmers need to use. Could be grants, could be credits. So first of all, decision support is recommended that most appropriate, can recommend most appropriate financial resources for farmers project based on farm specifics. So showing the typology of the farm and using, let's say, the best advice to the farmers simplifies the decision of the farmers which, let's say, which option to follow, which scheme to use, and which is the best scheme for him. So, of course, this is a module that can be developed later on in strong, better communication with the banks, because banks are giving very limited information on their rates, etc. They don't like to show the rates, they want to negotiate. But I think that even without this, it's good if the farmers see directly what are the possible sources of financing his application. Okay, another module is farmers folder. We have here all the history of applications. We have classification, validity of documents. Of course, some documents can be expired in short periods, some in later period, but there were some tools that help to tell you in advance that you have to replace your identity card because it expired, or some other documents. So, of course, we have another module that is application assistant. This module is simple, just transfer data formats for an e-application, that all the data are put in an application form, printed and signed by the farmer, simplifying all the application process. Another important module is reporting and statistics. It's very important because we know sometimes we need to adjust supporting schemes, and for this we need to see the results of schemes, how much the funds available have been used for one or another scheme. Is the scheme could be adjusted during this phase, or wait a little bit and adjust in another moment, etc., etc. So it's not for scientific research, but it's just to improve the policy regarding supporting schemes. Where are we now? So actually in Albania there are 5 single window offices already opened. They are supplied with basic facilities and equipment, and they are in operation. 10 more offices will be opened this year, and in the same time FAO have developed a capacity development technical assistance project, including also pilot demonstration activities, but also monitoring evaluation program for continuous learning, etc., etc. And also is prepare high-level design for the integrated service for single window for farmers. So it's ready to be, let's say, prepared, made, but in discussion we have actually for the difficulties we are having. We are also considering that can be done even with a few of modules at beginning, and then complete and integrate other modules according to the situation. So what are the challenges? So of course the challenges are a lot. There are technical solutions, interoperability of different systems. There are human problems, capacities of local administration, but also mentality of administration and of the farmers at the same time, because they want to discuss all the time with the people, they want to convince them, so it's not so easy to use sometimes this digital communication between them. Another challenge is legal framework for use and exchange data and info between different institutions, because sometimes we have data privacy issues, but also we have some other needs. Let's say these complex services need an integrated approach and exchange of information between different public and private institutions in order to give farmers an integrated service is not so easy. So what we need, as an expert I may say, we need an e-agriculture strategy. So of course that all these initiatives we are mentioning here and other initiatives existing in Albania are not coordinating. They are going each initiative in its own way with their own, let's say, speed. But what is happening is that, you know that a cart pulled by 2 horses goes forward with the speed of slowest horse. So, of course, we cannot digitalize the horse, but we may improve, let's say, communication between institutions and projects and put them in the same picture. So we think that it's important to build an enabling environment to prioritize development of coherent agriculture sector, involve all interested institutions, not only agricultural institutions, but also education and other institutions that are related with agricultural and especially with e-agricultural. So all these initiatives should be combined, integrated, and need an integrated multi-sectorial approach, I think, which may be called differently in e-agricultural strategy. So this is more or less my presentation. Of course, that e-agricultural strategy cannot be explained so quickly, but everybody has a leaflet in its table, so we may have a look on it and see what's the main goal of agricultural strategy, how it may fit with the situation in different countries. Okay.
Да, благодаря и аз.
Thank you very much.
Благодаря ви, професор.
Thank you, Professor Dobby. And now we move on to the next presentation to be made by a young person who has a PhD degree. Dr. Nikola Trendov represents Godolo University in Hungary. Dr. Trendov, your contribution to our discussion is about the need to strengthen the digital skills of farmers. There has been a survey carried out in Switzerland which points out that the lack of digital skills and knowledge is one of the main reasons for the obstacles on the path to the digitalization of agriculture. You have the floor to tell us more about your project.
Голяма част да бъда тук.
It is indeed an honor for me to be here. And I spoke to Nevena earlier, and we both agreed it would be great to do something about the Balkans. Thanks to you, thanks to Plumman, and thanks for this idea so that we could invite over 60 farmers here to see what we are doing here. I'm going to speak in English, and I'm Macedonian.
Invitation. My name is Nikola Trendov. I'm coming from St. Istvan University, which is located in Godolo, actually. I did my master through the FAO scholarship over there. I did my PhD almost through the Mr. Orban's government scholarship and program. But originally I'm coming from Macedonia, and all my life I study agriculture through the Sky School up to the doctorate. So the most important we're discussing nowadays with all of you that I'm younger, but really I want to discuss with most experience in this region, especially with Grigoris when we have fight about this, how the business and academia and the NGO and farmers can cooperate together. We came to an idea, that we could somehow approach this because we are talking, but not even acting in the field. For example, last year, in 2016, there were 400 startups in Israel just for agriculture, digital agriculture application. We have a lot of Horizon 2020 projects that are applied. We have a lot of softwares that could be and can be applied for. The problem is that always, when it's top down, we are facing with references. Farmer as a farmer doesn't know how to apply it. He never ever faced it. Even there are media, there are advertisement. He's now just sitting here, listening, watching, and after that going, and end of the story. What we are missing, especially in this part, I'll talk honestly about Western Balkan and small-scale farmers. That's my field of experience. Here I'm working, here I'll talk. The problem is that, when you're coming with the farmers, the problem is the extension service. We have lack of the extension service in this region. It was developed in the 90s-something from the World Bank in the whole region, and after that collapse. And you're coming with such an innovation that we cannot follow them, and farmers don't know how to approach. Basically, we miss the point where we work together. Most of the innovations you have already here presented are top-down, without of any farmer experience. And the one is happening in Serbia is thanks to the government that they realize that they have to do something with agri-science. And I'm happy about this, to hear that one of the governments starts working over it. And basically we came with the idea to run an Erasmus project about capacity building, how to teach and train, not just the farmers, but the extension officers and wet teachers. And I'm happy to work with young farmers. Young are the future. We have to work with them about digital agriculture. I respect elder experienced farmers, but they can just give some path in which way to go in the agriculture. But to apply technology, the easiest target group which can compete and cope with the skills, digital skills, are young farmers. And we are losing them, 5% in EU. From those 5, 25 are just using digital agriculture. This is a really poor number. And not just for the Balkans, but for EU as well. And we have to do something with that. And that's why we simply, this one, yeah. We won a project, it's an Erasmus project, about innovating something new in the teaching methods. How farmer can use, and vet teachers and extension officers, this technology through continuous education and capacity building, and especially through the high schools. Because this project is going from the top down, but in a different way. The competencies framework is coming from the UK. Digital agriculture skills and competencies in digital agriculture are coming from Czech Republic and will be applied in Hungary and Macedonia. But for that one, and now in the Balkans, we are really, as researchers, as Professor Dimitar mentioned, it's about this database. We, as the researchers, cannot run nothing because data is not available in the Balkan. Farm registry is operated by one ministry. ICAS, the entire system, by payment agency. We have this dissemination of the information is really poor, and sharing of the information. We don't want to share, because in general, in the Balkans, subsidies are, okay, in Europe in general, but in the Balkan mostly, subsidies are social protection, nothing else, and selective, which is not good, and they have to be open. And that's why this project is from open online education resources. Everybody can access anytime. We will have in different languages these online courses. And that's why, first of all, we need the focus analysis, needs. We did a questionnaire with the private sector, the companies, big farms, processing companies, what kind of skills, demands they are looking from the future employees, future farmers, what they have to possess to join the farm. Second part was also the teachers in the wet schools, what kind of training they need to start to apply this technology and share the knowledge with the students. And unfortunately, there are some really disappointing data about this. Because on the question asked, do you know about AKIS? 2/3 of them, vet teachers, they don't know what is AKIS, Agricultural Information System. Another question, do you use ICT tools in the educational process? 3/4 said, no, we don't use it. Another question, do you have knowledge or do you apply curricula about information technologies, digital technologies within your education process? Already 3/3, nothing, 3/4. And then the one most interesting for us was, are you eager, are you willing to do something to learn? They said yes, because we don't have available courses how to apply such technologies. In the other questions, do not bother you with questions and the pies. They know about precision agriculture, they heard about drones, they heard about GIS, but the thing is that they don't know how to approach, to apply within the curricula. And that's why the UK partner, we developed already competency framework. Means some of them are empty fields, and also in the other slides, because we are in the middle of this stage of the project. We will develop a competency framework and curricula for the vet trainers, advisors, and extension officers, and rest those who are interested in single digital market, for example, and then knowledge, what kind of knowledge? Like they should understand what is digital agenda, what is interoperability, because we talk about interoperability, but they don't know how to apply, how to coordinate in this interoperability process. And then they will gain a skills through this module, through this education. They will get the digital literacy, because the digital literacy in the Balkan is really poor. But on the other side, for example, Macedonia is one of the strongest in the region with broadband competences, 4G, even nowadays in Skopje, I think they have 5G around with T-Mobile support. But the literacy is really low. And as we mentioned, the problem with the farmers is, yes, they have smartphones, yes, they use them, but they don't use them for purpose of agriculture. Even they're farmers. They're using it just for Facebook, liking pages, or commenting on some post from the other farmers. But in some cases, for example, in Serbia, there is a group, Facebook group, Dobra Zemlja, 100,000 members, daily active members, asking, what about this machinery, what about that, what about third, do you have this, do you have that, did you apply such kind of GPS, did you know how to implement ISO-bus? But there is nothing concrete, it's just informal. So this competence framework will bring to the teachers a huge, wider opportunity. And whenever you have a project or something already product, they will be able to cope with it. For example, why not this Prespa wheel game be applied in the school? Why not AgroSense be applied in the school? Or this data from the Copa Cogeca? That can be a successful story, but first of all, we have to teach those who have to spread the information. And that's about the competencies framework, and this entire curricula will be developed by 3 modules. First of all, teachers and advisors have to understand that we have to reinvent the agriculture education. It's not anymore, it should not be anymore like in the past. You're going there, PPT or table with chalk, just drawing something, and then going out. Because I talk with all the farmers, and they're saying that the education in this region is really poor. Students do not respect teachers, teachers do not respect students. And in the end of the day, just they waiting to ring the bell and go home. We have to attract them to stay in the agricultural schools through these technologies, to make them interesting, to make them not just to farm because they have to, but to make them as a passion for agriculture. Of course, through these models. And then the second is about the European strategies. We are talking about the European strategies, initiative of e-agriculture, but most of them, even in the ministries, in the extension, they don't know about this. So through this curricula, young farmers will understand the need of digital agriculture and e-agriculture strategy. And they will come with ideas, and then there will be a public debate about this, and then we will change. Because digital agriculture strategy is not to set up today, it's to set up for 2020, 2025. It's for tomorrow. Because if you set up something today, it's already old. You buy a phone today, you get out from the shop, it's already old. So we have to move forward with this. And the third one is by the Czech partner, and this one with the digital system within the Agriculture 4, which means the entire competency framework will be embedded into this module. In the end of the day, the teacher, when you finish with the course in the summer, students will be able to operate ISO-bus, they will know about IoT, big data analysis, sharing commons, etc. But this cannot be done with the way we are teaching nowadays. And that's why, based on this 10 Again project, which was previous from the Hungarian partner, we'll interact to them. Because this is not just a teaching one-to-one, face-to-face, just theory. This will be games into this module. it can be another technology, it can be flip chart, it can be a text, short videos, because students, not just theory, they want to see something in practice. And they'll be more attracted by some innovative approaches that we'll do through this online course. And the next stage is to develop an online platform where we set up all of this and everybody can contribute. Then we'll make a piloting, a so-called a beta version, because we will apply this beta version in different countries, not just in the partnering countries. We will try to reach more audience about this. Then we'll get the feedback, because one of the problems for the startups and the big companies are they are not doing a beta version. They are going directly, especially when they are cooperating with the ministries. For example, there is a Abaco platform in Macedonia for subsidy, and really it's not good. There are another one in another country, another is really, I mean, farmers cannot apply. Yeah, we have a single window or we have online application, but farmers, they don't know how to use it. They are going to the National Extension Agency, they are doing for them, advisors are wasting their time again, and in the end of the day, they have to bring, again, a printed version. So it's a double check in one system, which is really wasting time. And farmers, they want to be on the farm, they don't want to be in the administration office and waste their day over there. So, and the sixth one is the valorization and sustainability of the project. We will develop a digital textbook. It will be online for free, especially for agricultural teachers. They can use it. And there will be online courses and modules that everybody can reach and will be for free in different languages, especially Balkan languages. This is the website, how it's look. Everybody can attend it, can enter it, free of charge, of course. And we're still under development of the project, and finally there will be some outputs later on. And yeah, teachers are not familiar with this. They are not aware of the new methods of education. They are still going through the old system. And there is no possibility for ICT courses where they can learn more about the digital agriculture or they can apply in the school. And that's why there is just one, let's say, updated model of the single window behind which staying Dr. Papoci, who is a friend of mine from Hungary, also involved in this project, me and one student from Obuda University in Hungary, but from Macedonia. And I can just show you this is that we are enthusiastic and we can do many things with less money. Means we are inspired to do it. And this is like a platform, like farm registration you mentioned, using personal data. Farmers can register and this can be connected with the farm registry. For example, you have digital library. We'll upload a lot of books where you can learn, where you can study. Then you have a farm where you can operate your farm like an ERP, enterprise resource planning. He can calculate his own, and then in the bottom you can see EPERT, the EPERT 2 program, where will be a link. For example, if the ministry allow us, this link directly will go to the online application, and basically he can apply online. He doesn't need to go to their system, etc., etc. And this is the land parcel, because yesterday I had discussion with one colleague from NIC system, Mr. Kostov, and he said the first point to introduce digital agriculture in any country is to have LPIS, digital catastrophe. Without a digital catastrophe, you cannot have digital agriculture. And that's why if, for example, LPIS or the Ministry of Digital Catastrophe Agency allow us, we can join with them and every farmer will have this. And when he's approaching to the private sector companies, he will know exactly his coordinates. He doesn't need to look for it or to pay for somebody else. He'll get it free of charge, and then he will go and he will apply GIS technology, precision agriculture on his farm. And this is the livestock group. Basically, this is for the fodden, but it's still under development because this is also livestock head by ID, by etc., which is also for crops will be there, for vegetable. Basically, he will have the whole list, but also not just him, the FADN will have it, and the ministry and the extension officers. And they will go to the extension officer, for example, he will choose which one. Because nowadays, for example, in Macedonia, there is a law that they're making some modification in the law for national extension. Then you can have data on your farmers who are working, how many hours, how much you pay for them, or advisors. If you need advisor for this, you have his phone, you have his location, you can call. And then it will be a rating. This one is the best advisor in that field, this one is a worst advisor, something like that.
Dear Nicola, please go to the final. You're very interesting, but things. Yes, please.
Can I have the PPT, 2 more slides? No? Good. Okay, why did I switch me off? It was Grigoris, I know. Okay, yeah, and so the key message about this is that we need a continuous education of teachers, extension office and administration about the latest and current technology or disruptive technologies. The main factor in the future, in my opinion, that will influence the future development of the digital skills among students, farmers, and extension officers is knowledge transfer through practical training. This continuous education should be through the practice, not through the theory. And the policy of digitalization in each country in the region should be based on the bottom-up approach, on the needs of the future farmers, business people in the sector of producing. And you have to follow them because in the end of the day, we are here because of the farmers. Thank you very much.
Много благодаря, Никола, наистина.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Truly, I was thinking that maybe you should do the wrap-up instead of me, but then you asked so many questions, then I thought that I can spare these parts where the audience asks questions. But anyway, you really talked about many of the key issues, what are the obstacles in terms of digitizing our farms, and digital skills seem to be the crux of the matter. Now, in the beginning of this panel, we started with a woman, and now I'd like to really have a woman speak at the end. Let me introduce Dr. Nevena Stefanova, and I will move into English.
It's a knowledge sharing officer, assistance provided by FAO, която бих искала да ни каже как FAO помага на страните да така засилят дигиталните.
And she will tell us how the countries boost up innovation potential. You have the floor.
As a co-organizer of this three-day event, I would like to grab this opportunity and to express my sincere gratitude to the Bulgarian government and to the Institute of Agro-Innovations, Svetlana, to you personally and your excellent team for the great organization and the very positive energy which made this event happen. Before responding to your question how FAO can assist countries to unleash the innovation potential of digital technologies, I would like to elaborate very briefly on what are the needs of the countries in order to unleash this potential. The identification of the needs actually was a very hard and intense work in the next, I would say, 4 years. We had very extensive discussions with governments of the countries that we work with, the 20 countries in Europe and Central Asia, with governments, with non-governmental organizations, farmers, private sector, information and communication solution providers, academia, advisory services, regional organizations, and so on and so forth. So basically, we came to 3 main needs that had to be addressed at country level. The first and utmost is the need to close the digital divide. In FAO, we believe the digital divide is actually threefold. We talk about triple divide. That consists of divide between countries. And we do have a divide between countries in Europe, in European Union. For instance, if we take just one indicator provided by ITU, which is the Institute of Telecommunication in Geneva, they say the average use of internet in EU 28 is 81%. However, the margin within the 28 countries is about 40%. In Western Balkans, this percentage is 66 on average, Turkey 58. What does this mean in an open market economy with accession countries? It means that some players in those countries will be disadvantaged. They would not have enough, they will not be enough competitive. This is why we have to deal with this issue with priority. Another element of the triple divide is the divide between urban and rural areas. There are a lot of examples already and initiatives that are trying to close this divide, and we just would like to support this as well. The third burden is the divide between the access and skills, the different access and skills between men and women, and between young people and elderly. Again, this is a very important divide. Not very, I mean, the trend in Europe is that we are trying to close this divide. However, one turbulence or appearance of one technology on the market can actually reverse the trend. And at global level, we have the trend to deepen the divide in this respect. This can have a serious implication on the job perspectives. So we have to really take care. How FAO is contributing to closing the digital triple divide. We believe the best way to deal with that is to have a national e-agriculture strategy that is formulated in a very inclusive and participatory way with all stakeholders. In addition, we believe the index that we are elaborating is further supporting the development of the strategy by showing areas of emphasis, the emphasis, directions to work, and identifies also possibilities for collaboration between countries, and actually narrows the area of in what direction one country may need to borrow experiences from elsewhere, and from where exactly we have a chance that these experiences can work in a particular country context. I would like to point your attention to a very clear message that came from those 2 last days, from the communication with farmers, but also from previous experiences, previous fora that FAO has organized. And this is that the current technologies, digital technologies, or rather the products that are on the market, the digital solutions, are not responding to the needs of smallholder and family farms. This is the reality. This very clear message came from farmers. So what can we do to not leave behind those farmers that are majority of the farmers in the Western Balkans and the Balkans as well, not only in a pan-European aspect as well. So it doesn't mean that digital technologies cannot be harnessed for smallholders, for the needs of smallholders and family farms. On the contrary, there is, at the moment, there is no incentives for the private sector to look at that market niche. So maybe the government can play a role, but maybe farmers can express their demand strongly through their cooperatives and farm organizations, which is another issue talking about the context of Western Balkans and Central and Eastern Europe. What FAO is doing, our office is doing in that direction, we are collecting a database of innovations, digital innovations, that have been already placing value for smallholders and family farms. So I would actually invite all of you to participate in this initiative and increase the entries into this platform. So the second need that is also very important is the need to adopt rules and standards for interoperability, open data, data ownership, data sovereignty, data sharing. FAO is very active, actually, at the global level. There is a special unit at FAO that is dealing with interoperability standards. And of course, we can provide this expertise to our member countries. On open data, we have also a lot of elaborations. We participate, what are the open data? So these are the data that are free of charge. Obviously, those refer to public goods. For instance, climate data have been recognized as public good according to the Paris Agreement on climate change. So the obligation of the countries is actually to make the access to that data, to make them available and to ensure the access of those data. But how to do that? There obviously a need to implement standards at the governmental level. We can help in that. We can also help in open data for nutrition and food safety. We can also help to make available public research data on an open basis, which is not always the case, unfortunately. And the third need is actually to enhance the digital skills in an innovation ecosystem in agriculture. What we do at FAO, we have elaborated capacity development framework on agriculture innovation systems, which has been piloted in many countries around the world. We have developed it with partners, and it's very elaborated methods to bring capacities in innovation in general. We are ready to specify, to provide this platform, particularly in the context of digital innovations. And we have already identified partners. For instance, we have heard in the presentation of the previous panel from Hungary that they have a digital academy, and there are many projects nowadays on digital skills. So we already have planned this work in our regional programs. And I'm coming to the modalities that we work in FAO. We provide our support to member countries through our strategic framework program. In the region, we work on three main directions that we call regional initiatives. We have the regional initiatives for empowering smallholders and family farms. We work on trade integration, and we work on resource management and climate change. E-agriculture is actually mainstreamed in all three regional initiatives, and also agriculture innovations are mainstreamed in those. We are an expert organization of the UN. We are not a donor organization. However, we have some funds that we can make available for countries for pilot projects that have a catalytic role, but we work upon request from the countries. Having said that, I would like to conclude with a quote of a very well-known African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you would like to go far, go together. I don't think that this proverb is relevant in the digital era. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have anymore the luxury to go either fast or together. We have to do both ways. So how we can do that? Yes, let's go fast, let's go alone with a national e-agriculture strategy. And let's go together, sharing knowledge through platforms or initiatives like that. Thank you very much.
Особено от последните думи.
Particularly from this last sentence, it's really the dot on the I. And thank you all for being with us during these days while we were doing the preparations. At all stages, we worked together. It was important to do the invitations and then to pull our participants together. Thank you, FAO. And since we are very pressed for time, I want to give the floor to Deccan. I think you wanted to ask a question.
Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate again your, let's say, good proverb, because that actually put things in the nutshell. What we need, especially here when we talk about, for instance, Western Balkans, and what the smallholders need is collaboration. And that is something that I'm here for too, because we see this as a genuinely pan-European problem amongst farmers. All farmers are too small to do it alone. They need the help of the cooperatives, and European Union actually has given assistance now in the form of producer organization concept to set up those structures in place. And please, even in regions and countries where you are not yet European Union member, please take a look into the European Union Common Agricultural Policy, and especially the concept of producer organizations, because that would give valuable indication how the farmers must organize themselves, especially in rising issues like digital agenda and defend their interests. Please take a look next Monday in our websites and our partners' websites for those practical 15-point list questions, very practical questions for the smallholders, small farmers, for instance, to check if they are protected within the area of data sharing. But I certainly appreciate it's a proverb to the end of your presentation.
Благодаря на всички. Моля, тъй като трябва да сме много стегнати.
Thank you all. Since we're really pressed for time, please, I'll just take a couple of questions from the audience. And for all panelists, of course, one panelist can ask a question to another if some clarification is needed. I have prepared some questions. First to you, Jan, very brief questions with hopefully very brief answers. In your opinion, do you think that this initiative you told us about can successfully be replicated in countries which have not yet joined the EU? The Broadband initiative, I mean.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think it is our objective to extend the Broadband Competence Office network also to the accession countries and candidate countries. So there's no limit, so to say, and I think, as became clear in the different presentations, the need is everywhere if we want to connect the rural areas, so we would welcome new BCOs from the Balkans.
Thank you. And Pekka, do you think that we need to have this e-agricultural strategy at national level? What do you think from the perspective of Copa Cogeca?
Well, as you probably know, European Union and European Commission is preparing for the next round of the CAP reform. And one crucial element of this reform is the so-called national plan, national strategic plan for the first and second pillar within the CAP. And I would assume that in the same spirit, there is a certain room of maneuver for the countries, member states, but also countries here in this region to take a look into the national needs. But it would be really greatly important for all of us to take a look into what we can do together in terms of streamlining this area of policy work. Because let's face it, not even the biggest member states of the European Union can do this kind of initiative alone. They need to be streamlined to the general interest of the farming sector or the value chain, and European Union actually is the tool to do this. We are struggling in our organization to come up with that room of maneuver for the member states, because we see an opportunity for those countries to do their national planning, but the crucial element is that we have to go to the same direction. Once again, the same famous proverb is that you have to do something together. It doesn't mean that you are one-to-one, but it means that you have to go to the same direction. And please remember that especially in joining the Union, you will enter the single market. And the single market is the single biggest driver for your business opportunities. There is no other driver than that. So if you are a completely different mode, different direction, you have a risk. But you have certain specific elements of your own concern that may actually work, especially in areas, for instance, the smallholders and their specific, let's say, presence in certain sectors, for instance. So we see a benefit, but it's more to do with the finding a compromise between the common line and the specific question that where we see, for instance, the national level interest to specific investments or specific arrangement within the sector.
Вземам повод от вашия отговор, за да питам всички наши
Taking it up from your answer, let me ask all the panelists, do you believe that we should have a common framework with a common approach to improve the digital skills of farmers? Is that necessary? Does that have to be a part of a national strategy, or should it be more on European Union approach and strategy? What do you think about this in terms of digital skills? Because it seems that this was at the core of the issue here.
Mm-hmm.
I very strongly believe that because of the differences in historic developments and new structures, also the educational field, this is a typical example where the national discretion is a valuable tool. How to organize yourself in relation to the training, so that you have your own academies, your own agricultural training centers that may differ slightly from your neighboring country. And I think this is exactly the point where you could use that national discretion, national strategic planning, to give a bit of an emphasis to what you do. And we also have some differentiation in government funding available in different countries. And so I think this needs to be exploited, if I'm frank.
Добре, междувременно, ако има...
Thank you. If someone would like to ask a question, you have the floor now. Then, now, you have the floor for a last question. So, finally, in conclusion, I can say that it is indeed necessary to encourage this multi-stakeholder approach. It is very important to me that we were here together. And this approach can be the starting point for many things: infrastructure, digital skills, and a national strategy could be the basis for our actions. And as our minister mentioned, such a national plan will be a very good preparation for the next agricultural policy, because, as it is said in Commissioner Hogan communication, aims at connecting farmers, which means that the digital economy will be in the core of the next common agricultural policy. And a national strategy will help us prepare for the digitalization part of this policy. Before giving the floor to Professor Buzhinov, let me show you a slide. So, that's what we've been working on with the Institute for Agro-Innovation on a digital innovation hub. Because Anna mentioned in her presentation that 3 Bulgarian innovation hubs were improved, but none of them was related to agriculture. So here is my appeal to all participants today. This is a private initiative, and we would like to invite you to join the Digital Innovation Hub. Let us join our efforts and work on the implementation of digital innovation in practice. Associate Professor Buzhinov, you have the floor for concluding remarks. First, let me thank you for the honor and pleasure to conclude this discussion. Over the past 2 days, actually 3 days if we include the farm visits, we saw the implementation of digital technology in practice. We have observed many examples of successful projects. And as the Deputy Prime Minister Donchev said, we shouldn't be waiting and preparing for the future because the future is here. And now it's up to us to decide whether we can accept that fact or we will be blind to it. It is true that digital technologies are here. Many things have been done. There is a very good understanding at EU level, at the Commission level. There is a very good understanding among various governments. We all agree that we need a strategy in the field of digitalization of agriculture in order to overcome the divides, the gaps between countries and between various social groups. This has shown that the time has come to implement these ideas in practice, because we can see many good individual examples in the European Union, in the Western Balkans, but we haven't witnessed yet the full integration of digital economies in agriculture. And I believe that the main obstacle is that there are so many different possibilities for gathering data today that when we talk about the standardization of collecting data, then we have to overcome another key problem, which is the standardization of forwarding data to the equipment used by farmers, so that the farmers could know how they could better use the farm equipment in practice. Because over the past 3 days, we discussed projects, initiatives, but let us not forget that these projects and initiatives aim at helping farmers to produce better and more. All these possibilities should be provided to farmers. Many people said that we don't know how technologies would develop 5 years from now, but we must develop systems and concepts which are future-oriented, so that the new technologies are easily accessible. So the main problem is not to focus on a specific technology, but to establish systems which can facilitate the access of farmers to such systems. A farmer doesn't need a photograph of the field, and he doesn't need to be told what he needs to do. He needs a software which he can upload in his tractor so that the tractor could implement the necessary tasks. So, my personal experience has shown that this is the most important problem we are facing. And another important result of our discussion is the idea that we do need EU-level initiatives, we do need national strategy, but we forgot to mention something important. We need not only strategies, but we need actions. Because if we have a strategy on paper only, it is pointless. It has to be transferred into actual actions. And also, These technological systems should be adapted in order to include the most important component related to innovations, which is the component of risk. Because so far we've been offering some money and we've been expecting a result. We cannot support innovations in this way. We can say, we give you some money and we expect you to try to do something. Therefore, the financing and supporting organizations should accept the idea of this risk. So these are the three basic elements to my mind of our discussions. And I believe that if we can find a solution through the cooperation of all stakeholders, then we would provide better chances to farmers. Another important thing, if we want any technology to reach small farmers, first, perhaps it will go through medium-sized farmers. I believe that pioneers in any field are medium-sized farmers having 1,000 or 15, 20,000 hectares. These are the people who are willing to take the risk first. Then, small farmers use the example of medium-sized farmers, and we can have a multiplication of effects. And the highest risk will be taken by medium-sized farmers. Some of them may fail, but those are the farmers who have the willingness and the resources to take risks. And smaller farmers are observing and they're learning. And when we have a larger scale of technology implementation, the costs will go down and small farmers will be using them as well. Thank you.
В България
Well, in conclusion, let me assure you that in Bulgaria, you do have a partner that you can always contact. That's me and my team. On behalf of the Bulgarian presidency, I would like to thank all of you for attending our discussion even half an hour later. And now I would like to invite you to a lunch organized especially for you. Enjoy your lunch and good luck.